Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Emily from GoWP, and welcome to today's workshop on the KPIs and metrics every agency owner should be watching with Mickey Mellen and Ali Green. So really quick, I just want to say a couple of words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. At GoWP, it's our mission to create happiness by providing exceptional outsourced services for agencies. We help agency owners grow and increase profits by helping them expand their team, outsource their services, and learn with expert training like today's webinar. So whether you're looking for new members to expand your team, like a GoWP dedicated developer, to outsource your tedious but important tasks like maintenance, content edits, and page build outs, or grow your agency through expert trainings like this one today, we're here to help. And we're really happy to have you on this call today. So I also want to mention that creating a GoWP partner account is 100% free. It gets you access to all sorts of resources to grow your agency, plus reminders on things like these webinars that we put on. Currently, we have a knowledge base set up in there with landing page templates to help you sell care plans, maintenance schedule lead magnet, and a landing page template to help you generate leads from that, all with the idea and goal in mind of helping you to increase your recurring revenue. There's also all sorts of documentation that you can take and make your own to use with your clients and prospects. And you can create your partner account at my.gowp.com. And if you haven't already done that, I suggest you do. We'd love to have you in there. So if you have any questions about partnering with GoWP and how we can help your agency, feel free to reach out to me, email emily@gowp.com, or you can catch me in the Facebook group, which I've just been struggling with for the last 10 minutes. So it's the Niche Agency Owners Facebook group, and I'll post a link to that in the chat in just a minute. I also want to mention that, if you aren't a member of that Facebook group, we'd love to have you in there. So it's a really great place. Mickey is in there. We love having Mickey in the group. He's always sharing all kinds of great knowledge and experience on our Friday calls. So if you're not a member there yet, we'd love to have you. So moving on to the webinar, just to let everyone know, I'm going to be watching the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in and I will get them over to Mickey and Ali. And other than that, let's go ahead and get started. So Mickey is a founder and partner of Green Mellen Media. He is regarded on that team as the token tech guy, and his insights are greatly valued on the Green Mellen team. He has over 14 years of WordPress experience and a passion for helping others. You'll often find Mickey leading the North Atlanta-based meetup called A Brighter Web. Ali Green is also the co-founder and partner of Green Mellen Media. She's schooled in both design and marketing, and she adds the analytical skills of an engineer to complicated digital marketing strategies. Like her colleagues, she generously shares her experience and skill at events like WordCamp Atlanta and web design focused meetups. So welcome both of you. Thank you for joining us today.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to this. I'm gonna share my screen and we'll kind of dig in.
Perfect. Yeah, Ali, Bobby's already saying in the comments that you're gonna school us today. So
I will school you. Yep, that's how it's gonna go down. Thanks, Bobby.
Fantastic. I'll go ahead and mute myself and take it away.
Cool, that sounds great. And yeah, and do interrupt as we go. Ali's main job will be to interrupt me and correct me when I'm wrong and add more context to things. And if you do put something in the chat, I've told Emily to please stop me along the way too, and we'll tackle that question sort of in line as we handle it. Certainly we'll have time after for more questions, but if you have a question about Ametric as we go, let's talk about it while we're there. So Emily already mentioned a bit about us. Here's 6 of the 8 of us. We need to get new team shots once we're allowed to get back together, but Robert and Joanna are not there. But yeah, we're up in Marietta. We've been there for, we've been in business for about 12 years. Been up there for 7, something like that. So yeah, we do lots of WordPressy things and love hanging out with people like GoWP and all the people that come to GoWP type things. Today is based largely off a book called Traction. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. It's a system for running your business. They call it the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. This is kind of how it got us going on finding these metrics. You don't have to follow this system to do it. In our case, Ali and I found ourselves running a business kind of by mistake and realized we needed to figure out how to run a business. So this framework was great for us. And they have a whole series of books. Traction and Get a Grip are the 2 main ones, and then other ones kind of flow out to the team. So we started using this in 2018. I've done a lot with it since then. In a part of Traction, it has a lot of things for how you should organize your goals and structures and cadences. But one they have you do is a weekly, they call it a level 10 meeting. And that's really what brought us to the framework around the scorecard. Our level 10 meeting, we talk about life in general. We see how we're doing in terms of just attitude and how we're feeling and all that kind of stuff. But then a piece of that meeting is the scorecard. And frankly, that's a place where we struggled for quite a while to figure out what metrics to follow. We understood the value of the scorecard, but when you read traction and those sorts of things, it talks about with your big giant company, you have your departments and this department should do this, and here's metrics, and none of them really applied to us. And so we spent the last 3 years constantly tweaking our scorecard. And if you talk to us in a month, it will have tweaked it probably further, but I think we've gotten a long way. And I think a lot of these should be valuable to you. The title is metrics that every agency should follow. And I'm thinking that title is probably a little bit off because I think every agency should use some of these metrics. I think different people will pull different things out, but hopefully all of you will find a few metrics and say, wow, that's a great one I want to catch. So for us, the way we do it is just in Google Sheets. We have this spreadsheet we pull up every week and kind of go through these. Some of these talk about what happened in the past week, things like website page views and stuff. Some are just kind of what's open, like how many invoices are open, what's in our pipeline, what's in our bank balance. Some are year to date, like our income. So different kind of metrics, and we'll talk through each one briefly to explain what it is and how you might get value from it. But Allie and I update our numbers on Monday for the previous week. We update them separately. It takes just a couple minutes to go through and just drop in the numbers, and later she drops in hers, and then we talk about it together in our level 10 meeting. And even then, it's like a 5-minute discussion or less. The idea is not here to dig deep into this, is to look for red flags. The big thing that I think this helps us with is looking at things like our bank balance. It's good to look at your bank balance. You should not ignore that, but that tells you what happened 6 months ago. The choices you made 6 months ago affect your bank balance today. So I want to look at what choices can we make today and how do things look today that'll affect our revenue in the future. And so that's a lot of what this is, looking for red flags and leading indicators. Say, okay, this metric is a little off today. Let's get it fixed now so it doesn't affect us a year from now and we wonder why we have no money in the bank. So we can see that. And again, I don't think any of you should have this exact set of metrics, but hopefully each of you will find a few in here and say, oh, that's a good one. I should start tracking that. So we're just going to dig in piece by piece. I'll probably talk more about the first half, as you can see here. Allie will talk more about the later half. And again, please interrupt as we go with questions. So where we start is a website. Just are things running smoothly on the website? There's a ton of metrics you could get. It is, again, different for all of you. The only one I look at weekly is just page views. I want to see, are page views way up or way down, or are they about where they should be? Typically, they're about where they should be. We get 1,000 page views a week, something like that. If it jumps up to 2,000, all right, Allie, let's stop and dig into that for a minute and talk about it. Or if it plummets to 200, let's stop and talk about that. But it's just, is there a red flag here? No? Cool. Let's move on. For some of you, depending what you do, you may want to have a lot more metrics for page views. You know, for people landing on certain landing pages or other things, we have other tools in place for that. This is, again, just kind of a leadership level. Are things real bad we need to look at and make sure we're consistently looking at that to see what's going on? But for the website, that's really all we have there. Other ones we get into a lot more. Pipeline is a big one. Are the leads coming in? So this is a good leading indicator. If we have a healthy pipeline, that means in theory, we'll land some jobs and have healthy revenue in the future. So this is a big one for the leading indicator kind of thing. Our process for leads kind of works through like this. We use Notion for tracking things, but you could use Pipedrive or you could use various things. Our Notion thing, I have a video on notiontips.com that walks through our template we use for the CRM. But again, Pipedrive is very similar, and there's a lot of different tools you can use for that. But we walk through and we meet a new client, then we schedule them for a discovery meeting. The discovery meeting has been scheduled. Now, after the meeting, we're building some options. Then we sent the options, and if they approve, then we're building a contract. We presented the contract, and we're waiting for payment. So any lead we have falls into one of those buckets, and yours is probably similar. Again, probably not identical, but similar. And so we have all our leads in those various buckets. And what does that look like to us? So there's some metrics we look at specifically to see what's going on. A big one, of course, is total revenue in the pipeline. And I should have mentioned, actually going back a few slides here, you'll see the little double pound. Some of these are numbers we look at and some are dollars. So this is a number metric. That's what I have that symbol for. This is how many page views? What is the number of page views? And so if we jump back ahead to total revenue, what is the dollars? How many dollars of revenue are in the pipeline? This is just a top line. If we win all of our projects at the highest possible rate, how much is in there? It's a unrealistic number, but it's a number we just want to look at and say, it's typically around here. Wow, it's way up or it's way down. We should be concerned and see what's going on. Some systems make it very easy to get that number. Most do. Pipedrive, again, is one I liked that tends to do a good job of that. The next number I think is a little more important though, and a lot of systems make it harder to find, and that is weighed revenue in the pipeline. I learned recently the official number for that is expected value. So if you put the odds on winning each of your opportunities out there and do the math on that, what does that look like? And so a sample spreadsheet of that would look like this. These are obviously all just made up. But if we have the Acme job out there and we think if we win that, it's worth $1,000, we have an 80% chance of winning, then the weighed value is 800. If we have the Home Depot opportunity for 10,000, we think our odds are 50-50, then the weighed value is 5,000. And so we add up that column and say, what is all the weighed stuff out there? What is our expected value? That is the number really we should win. When all these jobs close, we win some, we lose some. It should average out about to there. And so what does that look like? So that's the number we track there. The odds are completely made up by me and Allie. We've looked at more official ways to do it, but really we found the most accurate way is after we have a call where we present options or have a discovery call, I'll say, Allie, what do you think of that one? That's pretty good. I know they're talking to one other company, but I think we showed well. So we're probably a 70% chance on that. And what do you think of this one? Well, we did pretty well, but it's just an RFP. And so there's a lot of companies. So let's call it 15%. We'll just kind of massage that number as we go. And frankly, not worry too much about being accurate, just trying to get a rough number. And again, I'm not worried about what that total number is. I don't care about the 12,550 necessarily. I want to see what that number is compared to past weeks. A lot of this is just trends. Is that kind of where it usually is? Cool. We're in good shape. We've done well before with that. We're doing well now. But if that number is normally around 12,000 and suddenly drops to 2,000, okay, we've got a problem. There's not enough in our pipeline that we're probably going to win. Therefore, in 6 months, we're not going to have enough money in the bank. So let's go, push our business development a little bit harder. Another one, this is one of my favorite ones we added fairly recently, is how much have we landed in the past 30 days? And I tracked the dollars and the number of jobs here. And so this isn't how much money's come in. That's certainly important. Getting the money in, getting the payments is important, but how much have we won? So going back, if we were to win that Home Depot job for $10,000, I would put $10,000 into this thing saying in the past 30 days, we landed $10,000 worth of work. Again, knowing that money's going to come in next week, next month, over a 6-month period, whatever it is. But it's a great leading indicator. That tells us that's money we've won that will be coming to us in the future. And it's a phenomenal one to see in there. And again, we can say every month we need to win 10,000, 50,000, whatever the number is for your agency. And you can say, all right, this month we just did not win much business. Money's still coming in for other jobs, which is great, but we're going to have a lag in the future. So let's be aware of that now and be careful of that. And then the other tricky part, and I'm super curious how someone like GoWP would handle it, but we have a lot of recurring clients. And so if we land a recurring client for say $200 a month, technically we landed $200, but really the value is a lot more. So I generally put those in as a year's worth of value. So if we land a $200 a month client, I say, hey, we won $2,400 worth, just to kind of give us some kind of number to track there.
And Mickey, I will add something there, just in case somebody has something to share to give us a little insight in how they handle that. We don't have clients sign contracts for an extended period of time. So we're not putting them in a year contract for X amount a month because that would be easier to quantify, certainly in our metrics. But we always boast our flexible, engagements. You can always leave at any time. You can scale up and scale down at any time. So that's the way we present our monthly ongoing services to clients. So it does make it a little bit more difficult on our end to say, what is the value of a new recurring client?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you have a specific contract they signed for X months, then you can say the whole value of that contract you won. So that would make
right. And just speaking, McKenna, you mentioned with GoWP, yeah, we don't have timed contracts like that either. You can come on for 1 month. You can, obviously we'd love for you to stay forever, but it's not a requirement. But once you start, getting enough customers, you can kind of find the lifetime value average of your customers and what plans they're on and that sort of thing. So we rely on that a lot here.
Yeah, great point. And so again, different things for different folks, but just whatever that number is, how much did you land? And again, I don't want to spend too much time, or Allie and I don't spend too much time figuring out an exact number. Let's just get a ballpark. We're looking at round $1,000-ish numbers here. Did we land 15,000 this month or 20,000? It's okay either way. Is it 2,000? That's a problem, or is it 80,000? Like, that's great, but are we going to be buried in work? Are we going to have to scale up contractors? Like, we just want to see those red flags as far in advance as we can. And this has been an excellent metric to track to see that. The other one we look at is just unclosed options and contracts. We looked at how many dollars are in the pipeline, just how many deals are in the pipeline. You know, are there 30 deals out there that are juggling in various phases? In our case, it's generally 30 or 35, you know, in various stages, but did that drop to 20 or did it go up to 50? Again, just looking for red flags, and that's a good one. And again, these are super easy numbers to calculate. I'm not going off and doing research every month. I can just pull up Notion and say, oh, there's 33 in there. Boop, put 33 on the mark. And then when Allie and I go through, we just kind of skip that because we already have it. We already know it's, you know, in line with things. In terms of marketing and recurring stuff, excuse me, we look at a few things here. So we look at how many recurring clients we have of any type. We have some that just do kind of basic maintenance, some that get into tweaks, some that we do big full marketing plans for. Just how many do we have? And again, that number in theory should always be going up. And I think it's kind of a typical growth thing where in our case, we typically see it go up and steps back a little bit and then goes up a little more. And as long as it's following a good cadence, then we're happy. You know, as long as that number didn't drop way off, we say, yep, it looks good. Let's move to the next one. Again, Allie and I spend in the neighborhood of 5 minutes most weeks on this, unless there's a red flag that we need to investigate and say, why did that recurring clients drop off by 10? What happened here?
And as Mickey and I work on these together or separately, as we compile these numbers, we'll often just put little comments in the spreadsheet if there's a red flag or something that we want to make the other aware of. You know, this number's high today because of this. This number's low because of this. Or did you know that this client's been sitting in this position for, you know, X number of weeks, months. So we'll kind of add those red flags so we know to pause and spend a little bit more time on that item.
Yeah, and if you're a solopreneur doing this yourself, then as you put the numbers in, you can say, I'm going to stop right here as I put this one, because that one doesn't look right, and just go ahead and do your own research right then. In our case, we do it separate just so we can save collective time, but yeah, however you do it, spend the time to look. So we have the number of recurring clients, which is helpful. The total recurring revenue is, I think, more important. We have it broken into a couple different pieces. We look at our basic improvement plans and our marketing plans, but really just one bucket is probably adequate for most. Just how much is our total monthly recurring revenue right now? And again, should be creeping up. In our case, it typically creeps up, then inches down, then keeps on going up though, you know, over time. The way I calculate this for us is not necessarily how much money comes in each month, because we have a client that has like a maintenance plan with us and pays quarterly. I just take whatever that quarterly payment is, divided by 3 and say on average, you know, they pay us $200 a quarter or whatever. I say, great, that's $67 a month is essentially what they pay us. The money doesn't come in that way, but for math's sake, that works out well enough. And again, just want to see, in our case, we want to see that number continuing to rise up, and we have certain goals for it. We want to get to at different points, and we hit some, we don't hit others, but we keep striving forward. Another one we look at, we use Help Scout for a lot of the maintenance and stuff we do on our site. So we just look at how many tickets were there last week, how many tickets came into Help Scout, and Natalie's typically our Help Scout ninja, and so how busy is she? You know, she'll let us know if things get out of hand, but I still want to have a general idea of, okay, are we at 35? Are we at 80? Like, what happened? Why did it go up so much? Do we need to charge that person more? You know, do they use more support? Why are things so low? Just again, looking for red flags with all this stuff. And then a relatively new one that Help Scout does so well is the average ticket response time for the past week. And what I love about Help Scout is you can get that average ticket response time based on business hours. So with previous systems, if a client sent in a ticket on Saturday and we got to it Monday, it says, oh, that was 48 hours it took you to respond to that ticket. When realistically, if she hit it at 9:30 on Monday, it was 30 minutes it took us to get to it for how we train our clients. And Help Scout, there's a little checkbox you can say, only count business hours. And so every week you look at that and see, okay, we were 28-minute average response time this week. And, you know, just kind of keep an eye on that. And that would have helped. We had some issues years ago where we weren't as quick responding as we would have liked. And we didn't know that. The person responding, we didn't know they weren't as quick as we would like. And so this will tell us if that's ever a problem. And with Natalie, it is not a problem. But again, we'll just keep eyeing it, make sure things are good. And frankly, this is kind of a good sales tool for us too. If people say, oh, my other agency is so slow to respond to stuff, I can say, look, right here, last week we were, 19 minutes to respond on average. And that's, it can help if you have that kind of number when people are talking to you. A new one I've added is tracking uptime incidents. We use Better Uptime to monitor uptime of all our clients. Just how many times did it ping us with a problem last week? And I don't know why I'm reporting this one yet. This is one I just started tracking because there's not much I can do with it. If there's a problem client that keeps having issues with their hosting, we're going to move them off anyhow. But it's still just nice to see, like, okay, why was last week so bad? Why were there 37 uptime issues last week when normally we have 6, whatever the number is? It's just another one where if it's a big number, let's investigate why and maybe push that client harder to move to better hosting or, whatever the case may be there. So then we get into finances, the health of your company. And again, some of these are how healthy are we today? But again, to the extent possible, we want to see how healthy are we in the future. We'll work through these. Allie handles most of them, so she'll probably chime in quite a bit more. Really getting your books in shape was a big thing for us. We hired a proper CPA a few years ago to handle that and get us in better shape. And so with QuickBooks Online, that was enormous just to have a better handle on that. You know, we had a great CPA before, but she kind of had her books. You know, we reach out and get info from her in a couple of days. Now we can log in and get these numbers in real time whenever we want, which is very helpful. But if we counted on ourselves to check it often enough and see what's going on, we may not look at the right stuff. So this way, Allie knows I'm going to go look at these 7 metrics or whatever every week and see how things are, and we can, you know, make a change if needed. So one is just total income year to date. So this is one that just keeps climbing throughout the year. The total income that's come into your business without factoring any expenses out, just how much income has come in. Again, a little bit different than the pipeline stuff. This is money that has hit the bank. But again, we look at that. Allie, you going to say something there?
Yeah, I was going to say, for those of you that are creatives like me that are playing CFO when it comes to your finances, you can get your total income through your profit and loss statement, and also called gross income at times. But like Mickey said, this is everything that's come in. And the one thing you have to remember with QuickBooks is you do have to reconcile your books in order for them to be categorized properly. So when a sale comes in, it may be sitting out in the to be categorized feed. Sometimes when we put these numbers in, we haven't reconciled. We don't reconcile every week. Our accountant does that once a month. So these numbers are usually just guidelines, like Mickey said. But you obviously can only see this number do one thing, go up. You're not going to lose something from the top line. So this isn't a number that we necessarily take a look at trends as much. This is a number that I like to compare to last year to date more than anything. So if I ever get to like a milestone, like a quarter or end of a month, and I want to do a comparison, I'll sometimes add a little note that just says, this is what we were looking at like this time last year. Obviously, we review those things more in depth quarterly, but kind of just a good number to set all of these financials, kind of set it at the top of the spreadsheet, and then I can work down towards some of the numbers that go into or that chip away at that gross income.
Cool, good thoughts there. So the next one then is net income, which is basically the bottom line, more or less, the profit you have left over. So this one does fluctuate a bit and can go down if you have a bad month. Anything you want to add there, Allie?
No, not just that. This is this is the top and the bottom of your P&L sheet. So we kind of look at those two numbers, but then for any agency, they're going to have some numbers in between those two that are going to matter. And this is where it's going to vary for each agency. We've changed the numbers in between that we monitor before. You know, maybe you're taking a look at how much you're spending on marketing, how much you're spending on labor. And then, but the one number that we have zoned in on that we watch is our contract labor, which is the one you can pick from, 20 different numbers in between these two, but contract labor is the one that we look at the most. We operate mainly as an employee-based firm, and we obviously have to bring in contractors as we grow services or for things that just take a little bit more time that we don't have the internal resources to do. And we have seen over the years that contract labor is something that we like to track, because if this number ever gets up to a point where it's the cost of an employee on a monthly basis, or we've reached a certain threshold that we're comfortable with, we assess our contractor stack, our contractor relationships, and we say, could we bring any of these contractors in-house to join our team? Could we bring this position in-house to flip the contractor labor for an employee, and that employee can then do a little bit more than what they were just contracted to do as well. So we like this metric just because it gives us a good health check on when it's time to grow our team. So that's why we picked this one.
Yep, well said. The next one is the cash balance in our operating account, which frankly, we don't worry about too much. We have different bank accounts, and so it's how much we've chosen to put in the operating account, which is of some value. But for me, at least, the more important value is how much is in all of our various accounts, our operating account, our savings account, like how much cash do we have liquid that we could use? And that one, matters quite a bit. But again, it's a consequence of decisions we made 6 months or a year ago. And so it's important to keep an eye on. We certainly want to know where things stand and may impact our decisions, but theoretically it shouldn't impact much. If we know we're paying, either the cash balance a little bit low, if we know we're paying a ton to contractors, we still may make a hire even with a relatively low balance because it's going to save us money every month, or vice versa. If we have a bunch in the bank, it's silly to hire another employee if we're not having the contractors and have the workload to need it. So years ago, this was what determined our hiring, and we've since got better metrics around that to make more sense of what does that.
Yeah, and to dig into that just a little bit more, Mickey, you mentioned our cash balance in our operating account versus all accounts. The way that we've segmented our bank accounts, just for that kind of insight. Obviously, our operating account is where all of the money comes in and out. We pay all of our contractors through our operating account, and we take in all revenues through our operating account. But we do have 2 sub accounts or kind of budgets that we've set aside. We have a marketing account that's a whole different checking account, and a team development account that we see for use for conferences and adding equipment and things like that. So we put a bit into each one of those accounts every month, and then we have our savings account, which we like to have 3 months of expenses covered in the savings account. So we don't touch those other 3 accounts unless there's an opportunity, a conference, or we're doing marketing work for ourselves, like on our own agency, and our savings sits there for emergencies. So the operating account is the only one that moves. And but taking a look at that full cash balance is always just nice to know this is the cash that we have on hand.
So contributing to that is invoices. So we look at invoices a handful of different ways. Allie runs a few different metrics on our outstanding invoices. So the first one is the drafted ones, the ones that haven't been sent, but just what's out there. We know we have this client owes 3 more payments on this website, and we have this. And so how much is out there in invoices that we're going to send that we will get, we almost certainly should see that revenue come in for in the future. And like most of the invoice related ones, like most in here, this isn't looking at a hard number. I'm not saying what number is it, but how does it compare to the past? Normally we have $50,000 in invoices that will be sent later. Why do we only have 20 right now? We need to get more jobs, or do we just get paid a bunch and our cash balance is up? Like, it's kind of a balance between your cash balance and invoices. It's almost need like a total of those to see that big number of what all that is. We sort of looked at that in the past, and I'll talk about that toward the end here. But so we look at drafted invoices. We also look separately then at open invoices. So what's been sent to clients but not yet paid? What's going on there? Yeah, essentially AR. That's drafted and sent. But then we also have another line here for all sent invoices. Allie, I can't remember the difference there.
Yeah, this one I actually just added in a few different invoice lines recently. So this is a new addition I'm kind of testing just to see which one of these I like and speaks to me the most each week as we do this. So I don't think we're going to keep all 3 of these, because technically drafted invoices plus open invoices, or I think these are out of order. Yeah, I think I've rearranged them in our spreadsheet now, but drafted and sent should equal all open. But again, I like to look at the linear past of, okay, how many invoices are currently in the sent status? And for us, we use FreshBooks. And when I pull sent invoices, I actually have to pull sent, outstanding, late, and one other. They all count as sent. Like, I can't just click sent because it turns to outstanding after 30 days and yada yada. But I like to kind of see, I like to be able to have a red flag if I say, Mickey, typically we have 10 to 15 drafted invoices at a time, but Mickey, this week we only had 3 drafted invoices totaling this. Like, or did we forget to put a client, website project into, because we set up all of our invoices, we preload them when we sign a new website job. So anyway, it just gives me that historical week by week look, and I can see if anything's getting me pause in order to take a look at our pipeline. What can we expect to be paid in AR in the next 30 to 60 days.
Yes, this is really kind of the intermediate step. We have the what jobs did we win this week is kind of out in the future, and then what's been sent in invoices, what's coming soon, and then what's in the bank is what we have now. So yeah, there's kind of different steps to give us different levels of red flag, I guess.
Yeah.
We also looked then at AR that's 30 to 60 days old, just to see like, okay, is this is more just who do we need to go bug to pay their invoice because they're late. So if this number gets big, we need to go bug more people. There's always a few hang out in there, and that's okay. And often we'll say, yeah, we know that client always pays 30 days because the way their corporation is structured, whatever. But if that number gets big, let's, again, we typically breeze right through it on the scorecard because it's where it should be. But if it becomes big, let's pause and go take some action on that. And then we also look at over 60 and even over 90 sometimes too, just to see what's real bad. Early in COVID, we focused more on these because we expected they'd get worse. We thought when COVID hit, we were going to see clients holding money more, and it really didn't come out that way for us. But it's something we kept an eye on just in case to see what's going on. So we really have relatively little in these buckets, but again, we want to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we are lucky. Our clients do typically pay on time. So there's a few stragglers in that 60 plus section.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that sometimes and I'd be curious if anybody handles this differently, but sometimes we just have to give up on some, especially if they're smaller. And, we've never really taken anybody beyond just pushing them through email or picking up the phone. But yeah,
and I don't think we've ever had any that late that were more than a couple $100 either. So nothing worth worrying about. I think if it was a $5,000 invoice that was that late, we'd take different action,
Right.
So,
we wouldn't ignore that one.
Right. But then related to COVID, we had a few other things we were tracking for a while that we just took off of our scorecard. A problem we have with our scorecard is you ask any experts about it, we have way too many metrics. We probably should have fewer on there just to tackle them. So we're always trying to balance that. And so we did take a few off recently, but I thought I'd share them because in case they're of value to any of you. So a few that we use, and again, this was mostly early COVID, like to put the team at rest, to say, hey, we're in good shape. They saw other layoffs happening and, unemployment, and they're like, oh, we're going to lose our jobs. So we said, well, let's put some metrics together, show them, bluntly the health of our company, which we were in pretty good shape, but let's just be very clear with it. So a few that I sort of dreamt up, and our business coach agreed they were pretty solid. So I'll share them here is how much runway do we have left if we get no new clients and none of our outstanding invoices get paid? We have our recurring folks and they keep going, but all the project payments stop and we get no new clients. How long are we going to be around? And so we could say like, okay, we have 5,000 in expenses every month, and we have 3,000 in recurring income. So we lose $2,000 a month. We have 10 in the bank account, so we have 5 months left. So I mean, those are fake numbers. We had that kind of metrics. It was a team. Here's how many months we have left if no one pays us anything. And they said, oh, wow, that's really not that bad then. And then we said, okay, well, what happens then if we get no new clients, but the people that owe us money at least pay us what they owe us? So what would that look like? What's another number to look like there? So I did that, and it's similar kind of thing, 5,000 in expenses, 3,000 in recurring income. So we lose 2 a month. We have 10 in the bank account, but we have $6,000 in outstanding invoices that should get paid. So now we have 8 months left. We do that math. The key with all these is it's all rough numbers. I mean, you're never going to have every recurring client stay and every invoice not get paid or whatever. So we just try to look at it through different lenses just to get an idea of, okay, worst case, we have 6 months, best case, we have 3 years, like just to get some rough numbers around things. And again, we don't track these now because the COVID again, never really materialized against our business per se, other than I don't think I've seen Allie in person in like 18 months, but in terms of business, it's not really been a big problem. But then one our business coach did recommend, he said, those numbers are great, but why don't you compare them over time and see how quickly they're shifting? And so one we looked at for a while was the delta from 4 weeks prior. As we said, hey, a month ago, we said we have 6 months left. And now today we say we have 2 months left. Why did it fall off so quick? Or more realistically, we said we had 20 months left. And now a month later, we have 15 months left. Like, why did we lose 5 months in 1 month? What changed? Let's unpack that a little bit, because it should go from 20 to 19 to 18 to, And so again, that never really brought any flags, but it could, why is it changing so rapidly? Or what happened? We saw we had 20 months left and now we have 30 months left. Oh, it's because we did land a new client. We didn't think we would, So those were kind of interesting, but again, didn't really matter to us too much. And again, trying to keep our too large spreadsheet under control a little bit. We take off some of those from time to time. And then just a few other thoughts that came to mind for things we don't track that maybe will spur ideas in your head. Just a couple quick things here. One is maybe some various engagement metrics. We don't track like how engaging we are on social media, how many followers we have. We do for some of our clients, but not for us. But maybe that's something to track as we start doing more of that. We should see things going. Perhaps time tracking info, how many hours of time were tracked by your company last week. It should be, you always expect it to be around 210. So why was it 280 or one, again, looking for red flags there. E-commerce stats, perhaps if you sell things, it could be worth just seeing how much did we make in revenue from our product last week. That would be a big one. We do that for some of our clients. We use a tool called DataBox for that, to build like dashboards they can see. It's kind of a different animal than a scorecard, but if you sell things yourself, it may be good just have the official DataBox and all the metrics, but just once a week say, Allie, we normally sell $8,000 worth of stuff. Last week we sold $4,000 worth of stuff. Just a high level, make sure we hit it. A lot of these, like we said, are data you can get elsewhere and you should be tracking elsewhere, but these are things we make sure we look at every week. And so let's just get the things that are important. Again, like the page views on the website. It's kind of a silly, simple metric, and we should be looking deeper, and we often do, but we make sure every week we hit that one. So if something bad does happen, we'll notice it. Even if we've not done a deep dive in the site in a while, we'll say, wait, Google stopped indexing us, or what happened. So this whole scorecard is just things we want to make sure we hit every single week. And we honestly do hit this every week. And so again, that's a look at that. I can share the slides later too, so you don't need to write all this stuff down. And again, my hope is that a few of those resonate. You say, wow, I'm going to track these 3 new things. I don't think any of you are going to say the whole list is good, because it is, I think, frankly, too much. But yeah, that's.
It's worth noting, Mickey, you guys can see the arrows on the left side of this spreadsheet. Those are all metrics that we tested and then hid. So we have all of those hidden rows because we tried different metrics to see if they would, give us that pulse on our business, and we'd say, okay, we're going to collapse this one for now. So trial and error for sure.
Like those COVID ones, that's a whole chunk of those somewhere. I think the 41 to 46 might have been all the COVID stuff. And we're like, we had it, so I want to keep it just in case somehow we need to look at it later, but let's get it out of our way. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that presentation, both of you. I see Carol has said in the chat that she has hidden rows too, because that metric wasn't appropriate anymore. Yep. So yeah, it's relatable for sure. And Allie, I really loved when you talked about, and what you just mentioned right now, really about testing different metrics to find what speaks to you, and letting that kind of guide what it is you're watching each month. And if there are areas where you feel like you don't have enough, data to guide your decisions, to kind of find where that is and what are those numbers that you can use to help you there. So I thought that was really useful, and that was great to hear that too.
Yeah, I probably should have said it at the beginning more clearly, but obviously Allie and I are not CPAs. So we have a CPA firm that they give us a review every quarter. We really dig deep into some of those other metrics. And again, we just want, from our non-CPA kind of perspective, what are some quick things we can look at, and then do the deep digging some other day.
Yeah, I thought it was great. So if anyone has questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to them. I have a couple, so I'll get started. But so I did notice in the spreadsheet you shared there that you have the goals and best column. How do you set those goals? Are they based on past numbers? Are they based on just wanting to maintain kind of a general average over time? Do you adjust them often? How do you go about with goal setting when it comes to the KPIs?
Good question. So in theory, the way Traction says, you should have a goal for everything on your scorecard, and we don't. A lot of those, you notice, were empty, and most of them were empty. We've not done a good job of setting goals for that, because a lot of them, I don't know what the goal is. Like, what should our goal be for page views on the website? Like, it's around 1,000. That's pretty good. I mean, sure, I want it to be 2,000, but we're not really actively doing that. So we have goals on a few things with, we want to have 3 months of savings in the bank and some of that. But yeah, we've frankly done a pretty poor job of goal setting related to the scorecard, at least the way it's been presented to us. And then the best is just a quick look at, because as you can see, we only showed like 8 columns there. So we kind of hide a lot of the columns as well for years of historical stuff. So I want to keep a quick eye out. What was the best we ever did for page views on the site? What's the fastest turnaround we've ever had for support tickets? Just as kind of oh wow, this is the biggest week we've ever had on the site. This is the fastest week Natalie's ever had responding, just for yay us. And yeah, it's not necessarily all that helpful, but
and a benchmark, it's nice to say like, oh, okay, how are we hovering around this best, or around this goal, and we can compare nicely and quickly each number to that benchmark.
Yeah, it can help too for things like the pipeline too. We say, wow, our pipeline's really up lately. And say, but wow, it really used to be, it's not even close to the best we ever had. So it feels good and we're heading in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. And yeah, it can, again, just helping us compare to ourselves. So
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. It's similar to what I do on the treadmill or rowing machine. Like that's the fastest I've ever ran a 5K, but I'm not necessarily trying to beat it, but I don't want to get too far from it either, right? So.
Yeah. Good example. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Let's see, we have a couple questions here. So what portion of profits goes to marketing and experimentation to try new things? So I guess, do you use your metrics and KPIs to help you make those sorts of decisions too?
We are, yeah, good question. We're really just starting a lot of our marketing efforts with the onset of COVID. We did so much networking and word of mouth before, pre-COVID, that we're just now, our marketing manager's just starting to treat Green Mellen as one of his clients, rather than just leaving it up to Mickey and Allie to go out and find work. So kind of new territory for us. I'm looking, Mark, that was kind of new territory for us. But we do save. So the way that we save for each of those budgets, I think I transfer a set amount every month into it. And then at the end of the month, I look at where our operating account is. And if it's above a certain number, I literally scrape what's above that number and I disperse it into some of those other accounts. So I have our operating account cannot go below this number, and I scrape all of that and I distribute it into mostly savings. I like to pad our savings as much as possible, but I also put it into marketing and team development just to keep those accounts growing even more. Conferences stalled, so our team development account hasn't really been touched, but my intention is for AdWords and social ads to come out of that marketing budget so that we can just kind of let that tick and use our operating account specifically for labor and contractors and things.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing on that. Carol mentioned something I think is interesting. So she said that she has a very open-ended metric that she calls her external impact event. So she measures, I assume it's when she's given a presentation or served on a panel, being featured in a tweet chat, guest blog post, that sort of thing. And that seems like something important. I know you all mentioned that you'll put comments in your scorecard when there's a big event or something that might have impacted that week or that month. And it sounds like this is something that I think that sort of runs parallel with that, is what it sounds like. So I think that's really interesting.
I really like that. Yeah, that's one. I just made a note to myself. I want to chew on that a little bit more because I really like that idea. How many lunches and coffees did I have that week, or how many places did I speak, or there's different things we could do that. That's a neat idea. I really like that.
Yeah, I think that's cool too. Thanks for sharing that, Carol. Let's see, we've got another question here. Should goals be based on a hybrid combination of ongoing growth that should be a reasonable expectation and data over time for how long you've been in business? So kind of past performance there. Yeah, so Mickey, do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ours, I think he's correct. I think they probably should be a hybrid there. Ours is more based on just ongoing growth. Most of our goals are, hey, we're like right now, recurring revenue is a big one we're focused on. So our goal is, hey, it's growing like this, so let's go for that. It's just kind of based on our trend. If we work hard to keep that trend going, what should it be? And that's kind of a soft goal, I guess, really. But in that case too, I don't think how long we've been in business would really impact that, because our recurring revenue is almost always higher than it's ever been, by a few dollars here and there, but kind of getting higher and higher. So I don't think time in business, I can't really do the metrics off that, but yeah, the ongoing growth is a great one. And that's same with like our bank account. In theory, we should have more in our savings every month than we ever had before, minus tax time, but that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think it depends on the business, I would say too, and how much and how you're growing your business. And that's a conversation we've had quite a few times recently in our Friday happiness hours in the Facebook group, for people who aren't sure if they even want to grow, right? So if you're very happy with where your numbers are and your goal isn't to grow and hire more team members or add new services and that sort of stuff, then yeah, your goals are kind of just going to be to maintain there and not bury yourself in work because you want to increase your revenue, but you don't want to hire new people or that sort of thing. So definitely, I would say definitely depends on your goals as a business owner too. Cool. Let's see if we have any other questions. So Charles says that goals are are more important for leading metrics like ad impressions rather than lagging indicators such as page views was his input there.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and I would agree with that in terms of goals, although I would say page views could be kind of a leading indicator too, though. If your page views going up, it's because you're ranking better in Google, or you're, it's probably a good leading indicator of business to come, but maybe not. I mean, I think ad impressions are probably a more accurate one, but in general, goals for leading indicators would be, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. If anyone has any other questions, please post them here. I will say that Mickey is a member of our Facebook group. Allie, I'm not sure if you're in there or not.
No, Mickey's just kind of introduced me to this world. I know he joins the I think the Friday.
Yep, the happiness hour. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I will certainly. I saw you posted a link earlier, so I'll follow that. And
fantastic. Yeah. So if anyone has any questions that are coming up after this webinar, or you're watching the recording and you have some questions, they're in the group. So, or Ali will be soon, but Mickey's definitely in there. So you can tag them in there. We have the event page for this webinar too. So you can post a question in there, tag Mickey or Ali, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help you out. Mickey is almost always on our Friday happiness hour calls and always has really fantastic contributions on there. So if you liked what you see here, you get more of it every Friday with Mickey. So we love having him in the community. Thank you so much to both of you for doing this presentation today and sharing so many insights and all of the experience that you all have gone through to grow your agency and what you've learned so far and how you're still adjusting that too. I think that's really valuable to see as well. So thank you so much for that. And it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. Everyone's saying thank you. They've really enjoyed it. So thank you both so much. And we'll see you in the Facebook group.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you
That's
so
great.
much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.